3,276,948 times of this recording. That is how many years Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX and Tesla, could survive into the future if he were to spend the average American salary of $56,516 per year. Put another way, even if you are able to save an unrealistic 50% of your salary and stash it under the mattress every year, it would take you 6.5 million years to save your way to Elon's wealth. Okay, I get it. So we can't all be the richest people on the planet. But how about $1 million? Surely that couldn't be that hard, right? Well, let's say you are an average engineer earning $80,000 per year. It would take 16 years just to earn $1 million. But that doesn't include rent, food, cost of living, and if you diligently and consistently save 10% of your earnings, it could take 156 years to shave your way to $1 million. For the average teacher, 217 years. For a bartender, 625 years. See, for the rich, wealth is measured in time. If you lost your job tomorrow, how many days, months, or years could you survive on your savings? That is the definition of wealth. So how long could you survive? This book will give you the financial intelligence that you probably missed out on growing up, the secret financial intelligence that wealthy families passes on from generation to generation. The education system that your parents forget to teach you. Not getting this information is why so many people remain forever stuck in the rat race. By the end of this video, you will know 95% of everything about this book has to offer. You will have a bird's eye view of all the most important concepts and codes that will change your perception of wealth and guide you on your journey to financial freedom. Let's jump into it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The story of two fathers. One has a wall full of degrees and diplomas. One a high school dropout. One after death will leave next to nothing behind except debt. Other will have died one of the richest men in Hawaii and will pass on his empire to his children. Rich Dad guides the two boys on a journey to best use their minds in finite time to create wealth through investments and business. This story shows the difference between I can't afford that to how can I afford it. That's his poor dad would say things like I will never be rich, and his prophecies become true. Rich Dad, however, even after going bankrupt and having $0 would say I am a rich man. There's a big difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, poor is external. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. Poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. When Robert Kiyosaki, the author of this book, was 9 years old, his best friend Mike and he asked Rich Dad, Mike's father, how to make money. Before long, they were both working within Rich Dad's companies. The only problem Robert had was his salary, 10 cents a week, a poverty wage. He seriously thought about quitting every week that passed by. Who was this guy to be exploiting us for 10 cents a week? He would ask himself. It was at this moment in time that Rich Dad gave them their first lesson on the topic of money. Life pushes all of us around. Some people give up and others fight. If you learn the lesson and move on, they welcome life pushing them around. Most people leave their jobs because they aren't receiving enough money. They would have already quit, but the wealthy see it as an opportunity to learn. One of the life's biggest traps. They work very hard for a little money, clinging to the illusion of job security, 3 weeks vacation and a skimpy pension. People's lives are forever controlled by two emotions, fear and greed. Here's how the pattern goes. Your fear of not having money motivates you to work harder. Then the paychecks begins and your desire and greed for new cars, new products, new shoes and clothes begins. You want more things, so you work harder for that promotion. Then the pattern is set and you are stuck in it. You get up and go to work. You come home and pay your bills. Your increased earning leads you to increased spending. And this is the rat race. To break the boys out of 9 to 5 mentality driven by fear and greed, eventually Rich Dad cuts down the two boys' wages to zero. Robert didn't dare to tell his poor dad that he was working for nothing. They began working solely for knowledge, and Rich Dad forced them to think of ways to start generating their own income. Where was I? One day, two older comics were left lying around one of the rich dad's store, and this was the inspiration for them to open their first business. They recovered the outdated comics, opened their library in the basement. Classmates paid 10 cents for entry. They paid the sister a wage of $1 a week, and before they knew it, they were earning $9.5 a week without even needing to work. This was the beginning of their journey of not working to earn money, but making money work for them. Key lesson: getting a job is really just a short-term solution, getting enough to pay expenses, to the long-term challenge of building your net worth. The more you get paid, the higher your expenses become. This is a human nature, and it's driven by fear and desire. Once you get stuck in this cycle, you are forced to work for someone else the rest of your life. Lesson 2: Why teach financial literacy? It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. If you are looking at a school to make you rich, then you are looking in the wrong place. The education system primary objective is to train you on how to become a good employee, but it does a poor job on making you a good employer. Things like managing your own personal finances and building wealth aren't taught on by the education system in its current state. You can only rely on yourself to use this knowledge and acquire assets that allow you to generate an income. The first pillar of financial literacy and escaping the rat race is understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. An asset puts money in my pocket. A liability takes money out of my pocket. Let's quickly look at the income statement. Your income statement is money going into your pocket. Expenses is money going out of your pocket. Things like rent, food, electricity, and clothing go here. An asset is something that allows its owner to generate an income. On the other hand, a liability generates expenditure. This is the cash flow of an asset. This is the cash flow of a liability. Rich people acquire assets. Poor on the middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. Cash flow pattern. Cash flow tells the story of how someone handles money. This is a cash flow of a poor person. They have a job, they get a salary, they use all their salary on expenses, and they usually live from paycheck to paycheck. Cash flow of the middle class. They have jobs, they have salary, but most of their money tied up in liabilities and expenses. Home loans, car debt, credit card debt, mortgage repayment, and taxes. They think that their home is an asset, but they wake up one day with a liability column full of mortgage debt and credit card debt. Cash flow of a rich person. The rich are always thinking of ways to grow their asset column. Their main source of income is from assets that they have acquired over time. Your home is not an asset. By focusing on home, you are building a liability rather than an asset. When it comes to houses, most of the people work all their lives paying for a home that they might never own. In accruing 30-year loans that they are tied to, you need to pay property tax, and the rate of these taxes are completely out of your control. You need to pay other home expenses, and the value of your home over time does not always go up. The most important of all the biggest cost of the house are all the lost opportunities. If all your money is tied up in a house and going out through the expense column in mortgage payments, it's not being used to grow your own assets column. Furthermore, think of all the other investment experience that you are missing out on when you are only focused on local residence real estate. So here are some examples of real assets. An apartment which generates monthly payment from a tenant, and then repayments allow you to repay the loan repayment on that property business that doesn't require you to be present within. It is for poor dad, a home was an asset. For rich dad, a home was a liability. This is how poor dad's income statement looks. Take a note of inflated liabilities. And this is rich dad's income statement. Over time, he has grown his asset column. Most people fall into the trap all the time because they are financially illiterate. They don't understand the relationship and difference between the balance sheet and income statement. Why people struggle? If you follow what the masses do, this is what your life will become. You have three people that you work for. You work for the company to get a salary. You are making the owner and shareholders rich. If you have debt, then you work for a bank. Your mortgage and credit card make the bank rich through your interest payments, and finally, you work for government. The government takes a cut of your money before you have seen. How do you work? The more you pay in taxes. Take a calendar year. If you are a regular person, every dollar you earn from January 1st to March 16 go straight to the government. That's 2.5 months of every year that you just give to the government. Compounded over 40 years, that almost 6 years you work just to pay the taxes. The rich understand this, the masses don't. Failure. The main way to get out of this rat race, fully understand the difference between an asset and a liability. Focus all your efforts on obtaining assets that generate a cash flow. Keep your expense and debt to the bare minimum. And finally, which lead us to the next lesson, mind your own business. Key lesson: life is not about how much money you make. It is about how much money you keep and for how many generations. The key to achieving this resides in having financial literacy. Understand the difference between an asset and a liability. The rich build and acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they mistakenly think are assets. Lesson 3. Mind your own business. The rich focuses on their asset columns while everyone else focuses on their income statements. Robert Kiyosaki, first professional job was far away from glamorous. He was a photocopier salesman for Xerox. Using the ways he earned, he invested into apartments. And after just 3 years, the revenue he was generating from his investments outpaced his salary. It was the first time for him to leave Xerox and look after his own business for full time. So what are some real assets that you can begin focusing your attention on? First, business that do not require your presence to operate. Second, stocks. Third, bonds. Fourth, income generating real estate. Fifth, notes or IOUs. Sixth, royalties from intellectual properties like music script or patents. Seventh, anything else that can produce an income or appreciate in value. Things like cryptocurrency, website, YouTube channel, etc. Once a dollar goes into your asset column, never let it come out again. Feed your asset column. Robert thinks of every dollar he put into his asset column as an employee. Each dollar in my asset column was a great employee, making more employees to buy a boss a new Porsche. And the best thing about money is it can work for you 24 hours a day. And it can work for generations. Key lesson: don't confuse your profession with your business. The middle class focuses on their profession, and as a result, they spend their entire life building someone else's business. The rich, on the other hand, focuses on building their own business. Your profession focuses only on the income section of your professional income statement. Your business revolves solely around the asset column on your balance sheet. Hello friends, thank you so much for still watching this video. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out more videos like this to come in future. Lesson 4. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. My rich dad just played the game smart and he did it through corporations. The biggest secret of the rich. A brief history of taxes. Every time people try to punish the rich don't simply comply, they react. They have the money, power and intent to change things. They don't just sit there and voluntarily pay more taxes. You may have heard the sayings, nothing is certain except death and taxes. But for the most of human history, taxes were not certainty at all and look much different to the way people are taxed today. Occasionally, kings, queens and presidents will collect taxes in an effort to support wars. But there were no permanent taxes levied against people on their income. Even in times of war, the highest tax rate in Roman Empire was only around 3%. Originally in England and in USA, there were no taxes. Only in 1874, tax became permanent in England and 39 years later, the US followed suit with the adoption of 16th Amendment that made income tax permanent. These permanent taxes were passed into law under coups that were only levied against the rich. This decision would end up backfiring and punishing the people who voted for it. Poor and middle class. Government bureaucracy versus capitalism. As a government grows, more and more tax dollars are needed to support it. Rich dad saw poor dad as a government bureaucrat and himself as a capitalist. Both are driven by opposite incentive structures. Put yourself in the shoes of politician or government employee. Your incentive is to spend money and hire people. The larger your department or organization becomes, the more entrenched and respected it becomes. You are incentivized to spend every dollar of the budget you can, because if you don't, you risk losing it in your next budget. If you are a politician running for government, you are campaigning on your ability to cut expenses or balance the budget. You are campaigning on all the things that you will build, create or give it to your constituents. And at the end of the day, you aren't spending the money from your own bank account. You are spending the population's tax dollars. Now put yourself in the shoes of rich dad, a business owner. Your incentive is to spend less and only hire when needed. And at the end of the day, you may deploy your capital in more efficient manner because it was your money. My rich dad did not see Robin Hood as a hero. He called him Robin Hood a crook. This economic theory of taking from the rich and giving to the poor and middle class only lasted until the government's need for more money to sustain itself lead to the taxes needing to be levied on middle class and poor. At this point, the rich found a new way to protect their assets. The biggest secret of the rich. The rich found a way to escape and seek the protection of a corporation. For most people, when they hear the word corporation, they may imagine something tangible like large building with hundreds of employees. In reality, a corporation is just a piece of paper that creates a legal body. The rich protect their wealth through corporations because it gives them tax advantages over the poor and middle class. Corporate tax rates are lower than personal income rates and it also protects them from lawsuits. But how? It comes down to the flow of income. Take a close look at the order. An employee earns money, pay taxes and then spend. A business owner earns money, spend and then pay taxes. The corporation can do many things that an employee cannot, such as paying expenses before taxes. The business owner's income flows through the corporations and pay him or her salary as an expense. If you pay yourself a small enough salary, you can also avoid higher tax brackets that higher earning employees need to pay. The pre-tax dollars here are where the rich finds to minimize their tax burden as much as possible through deductions and other legal loopholes. Lesson 5. The rich invent money. The mind and your financial operating system. Most people operating system for creating money is get a good job, work hard and save your way to financial freedom. The rich don't trade their time for an hourly salary. They find their ways to build assets. To build your asset base, you need financial intelligence. The single most powerful asset we have is our mind. If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth. An untrained mind can also create extreme poverty that can crush a family for generations. In today's information age, your greatest asset is your mind. The old ways of making money and getting rich don't work today. Developing financial intelligence is the key to finding and creating profitable business opportunities. To gain financial intelligence, you need to learn the following. Financial literacy, the ability to read and understand financial statements. The financial statements of a business can show you its strength and weakness. Investment strategies. Investing is the science of making money and understanding of supply and demand. An understanding of the law. Be aware of all the states and federal regulations and always play by rules. Gaining financial intelligence will allow you to see opportunities outside to get the job, work hard and save model of making money. Always be learning to improve these 4 areas: timing and courage. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. Financially intelligent people always have more options for creating wealth because they are constantly seeking and investing new ways to invest or build their assets. You can't be the one sitting on the sideline waiting for the perfect timing or perfect idea to arrive. You need to take action, courage alongside a willingness to take calculated risk that can make the difference. Lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. Job is an acronym for just over broke. Unfortunately, I would say that applies to millions of people. The long view are people looking to where they are headed or just until their next paycheck. If you need to get a job and work for someone, work to learn new skills. Most people only focuses on short-term benefits and will take a better paying job that can teaches them nothing over a job that will give them skills to become successful in long run. When you are first getting started, value learning new skills over money and job security. Specialization versus knowing a little about a lot. Job security meant everything to my educated dad. Learning meant everything to my rich dad. Poor dad wanted Robert to become highly specialized and focused on job security. Rich dad wanted Robert to know a little about luck. The main skills you need to focus on learning are management of cash flow and how to deploy capital, management of systems, how to plan and allocate your time efficiently, and management of people, learn how to hire and motivate them. The main specialty skill Robert recommend are sales, copywriting, and marketing. And the main communication skills are writing, speaking, and negotiating. Most people will tell you it isn't a good idea to jump from one company to another. But in general, most jobs will not expose you to all these relevant skills. Robert considered working for different companies a wise decision. You will learn more, and from the long view perspective, this will pay dividends. Talent versus financial intelligence. The world is full of talented poor people. Talent isn't enough to become successful. Many talented people are poor or working for low-paying jobs. This is because they haven't learned the skill to leverage their talent into financial rewards. Lesson 7. Overcoming obstacles. The primary difference between rich person and poor person is how they handle fear. Here are 5 of the reasons people fail to achieve financial success. 1. Fear. They fear losing money more than making it. 2. Cynicism. They are cynical and do not believe it is even possible to become wealthy. 3. Laziness. They are too lazy to change their habits. 4. Bad habits. Their behavior towards money is dictated by their habits. And 5. Arrogance. They are arrogant, ignorant, and ego-driven. Overcoming the fear of losing money. Rich and poor people have fear, but how they deal with the fear is different. The rich are able to handle the fear of losing money, whereas poor become paralyzed by it. Poor people often avoid the topic of fear or money altogether. The poor look at losses as permanent and irreversible. The rich look at losses along the journey as inevitable and only temporary. The key is to take inspiration from your failures along the way, knowing they are valuable lessons to learn from and only temporary setbacks. Overcoming cynicism. Cynics criticize, winners analyze. Cynicism and doubts are what keep most people poor. When you don't even believe it is possible to become rich and you have self-doubt, you let opportunities slip past you and you prefer to play it safe. Cynics will tell you all reasons why something won't work, but never have actually tried it themselves. Rich people are always analyzing and thinking about how things can work. Poor people are always criticizing and thinking about why things won't work. Overcoming laziness. Too many people lazily accept the status quo and don't strive for something better. Rather than saying, I can't afford it, try to change your mindset to how can I afford it. This opens up the brain and forces it to think for solution. I can't afford it immediately shuts down your ambition. A little greed, but not too much. Too much greed is a bad thing. But Kiyosaki tells us a little bit of greed will help you to overcome this laziness. Overcoming bad habits. To develop good financial habits, start by paying yourself first. The majority of people pay everyone else before paying themselves. It should be the other way around. Pay yourself first. When you get paid, then everyone else. If you don't have enough to pay the government or creditors, this will force you to creatively think of ways to make more money to repay them. If you pay yourself last, you won't have this incentive. Overcoming arrogance. Many people use arrogance to hide their own ignorance. Robert found that people who don't know what they are talking about would often bluff their way through discussion with arrogance. Try not to be that person. When it comes to investing in wealth creation, always be open to others people's perspective and never assume that you have all the answers. Lesson 8. Getting started. There is gold everywhere. Most people are not trained to see it. To get started on your journey to financial freedom, try the following 10 steps. First, find a purpose. Find a reason greater than yourself to keep you on track and help push through obstacles. Second, make daily decisions that propel you towards your purpose. Your spending habits reflect who you are. You can choose to be rich, poor, or middle class every day through your daily decisions. Poor people have poor spending habits. Ultimately, your future is compounding of all the small decisions you make each day. Replace negative thought patterns such as I will never be rich by thinking about one thing you could be learning or doing today that propels you towards your financial goal. Third, choose your friends carefully. Robert warns us not to listen to poor or frightened people. They will tell you all the reason why what you are doing won't work, but actually have no skin in the game themselves. Choose which people you want to associate with, as these people will influence the decisions you make and opportunities you find the most. Fourth, muscle what you learned and learn something new. You become what you study. This is the financial version of you are what you eat. For the masses, the formula most used is to work for money. Wake up, go to work, pay bills, and repeat. In today's fast-paced economy, it is not so much what you know anymore, but how fast you are able to learn new things. There are unlimited ways to make money, but so many believes that they can only become an employee to earn it. Fifth, develop self-discipline. Pay yourself first. When paying bills become more important than paying yourself, your life is being dictated by those obligations. If you pay yourself first, you will always be building your asset column and you will be less likely to take on consumer debt if you know how to pay yourself first. Sixth, pay well for good advice. Information is priceless. If you aren't sure how to do something, be willing to pay someone who is already doing that thing. The information that you are paying for will be a tiny fraction of the return on interest you will gain in the future. Seventh, get something for nothing. Whenever you make an investment, always be focused on at least breaking even as quickly as possible. Once the asset's initial investment has been recovered, any additional income from that asset sitting in your asset column is just an added bonus, and you won't be kept awake at night thinking of market fluctuations. Eighth, use your asset, not your capital, to pay for luxuries. Borrowing money is easy in short term but hard in long term. Never go into debt for luxuries. Robert, just like most people, loves luxuries, but he will never go into debt to finance luxurious car or any other such luxury products. Only money generated from assets can be put towards luxury. This allocation of money and impulse control does require discipline. Most people lack this discipline and end up becoming servants to the debt they took on the pay for luxuries, instead on focusing on building assets. 9. Find heroes. We all need heroes to look up to and inspire us on our journey. Spend some time and effort choosing a few financial heroes you wish to emulate. Read about them, listen to interviews with them, Learn about their personalities and channel their energy into the way you conduct your own financial journey. 10. Give and you shall receive. If you can't teach something, that means you don't truly understand that thing. The more you teach others what you know, the more you will learn. Always be generous with your knowledge. The more you give, be acknowledged, money smile. Love the more you will receive. Make sure this giving truly comes from the joy of giving and helping others, and not because you expect the receive of something in return. So friend, these are the 10 steps on your journey to financial freedom. So this was the summary on this amazing book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I hope you like it. So friends, please do not forget to hit the like button and please subscribe to our channel and also click to the bell icon so that you can get our video notification.